Pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. Yeah, pleasure to share a bit on vision. Um, yeah, and when I was asked what would I like to share on, I also reflected what are the most challenging things that village builders and friends in this movement are coming across, whether they know it or not. And it's often alignment to the vision. And I kind of made like a joking title, but I always hear from people like Spirit told me that this is the land, this is the place, and it's true often, but just to challenge that a little bit and go deeper into what it means to really align our visions. Yeah, everyone can hear okay? Just checking. Cool.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe I'll start with a little background just to give you all context, a little bit about how I got here. But yeah, I'm originally from New York City and I was in nightlife, throwing very large events and parties, gathering people. And I knew I loved community. Eventually, nightlife and parties were not the only way to gather community. So I went to work at Burning Man for 2 years with the founders of Burning Man, with Larry and Marion. And that was like my next step into understanding how people can live in community, albeit temporal community, and a lot of visions of different kinds of realities and futures, but all in alignment with certain values, let's put it that way. And still, after Burning Man, I was searching for a bit more. My family got into health and wellness and longevity. I was getting done with Burning Man, nightlife, everything, and starting to go on some retreats and different kind of entrepreneur gatherings, and realized that I wanted more out of life. So I quit my job and I went to go look with my family where we could do something where people could live with sustainability and health and wellness and each other and fun. And so a vision started to form of a life less ordinary and much more abundant, where, yeah, we could live sustainably, we could live with health and wellness, have fun, not have it be boring, like some kind of place to just sit in silence and clean your body. We wanted more, like we wanted art and culture. And so we found as a family Costa Rica, this incredible country that was like a canvas for what's possible. In any movement that you're in the new paradigm, Costa Rica was by far, one of many hubs out there, Portugal and Bali and etc. But it was the one that was closest to me and where the country matched my vision for quality of life. So before any kind of projects, I wanted to envision what I wanted in life, where I wanted to live, with who, did years of journaling and kept refining that vision. Even in Costa Rica, where would I live? On the beach, in the capital, what was the most aligned? And eventually we bought property as a family, and I was going to raise the money to build our eco village and retreat center. And I had every support from friends, family, and from spirit. Every time I meditated, closed my eyes, prayed, it said, yeah, this is your path. I don't know how I was going to get there, but it's your path. And so I imagined when we bought our first property that everything was aligned. Our vision was good. It was for the health of the planet and the people. It included ourselves and our health, which people sometimes leave out of their vision. And the property appeared that seemed perfect. We bought it, etc. And so I was assuming I was in 100% alignment with my vision, because it felt really good. The place appeared, family, friends, and that's when things didn't really go as planned. 2008 happened, the real estate thing, crisis, whatever they call it. The market dropped out, and here we are with the dream of building a new earth, and all of a sudden the money that the bank promised us and investors, it's gone. And so now our vision, which seemed so aligned, all of a sudden had stress. I had to go raise money, give talks, do stuff, sell plots of land like many of my friends do in their eco villages, just to raise enough money to keep the dream going. And never did I really challenge, was this vision aligned at that point? Because I said, of course it is. We just have to keep going. Just trust in God, trust in spirit, trust in self, and keep pushing. And it's only in hindsight that I realized my vision was aligned to what the planet needs and how I want to live, but it wasn't aligned to the property nor to the project that I was building. Had we built that eco village, it would have been 90 families who didn't know each other at all. It would have looked like an eco village, you know, with fruit trees and maybe a cool school in Maloka. But I'm glad that it, although it was the dark night of my soul, I'm glad that it didn't pan out the way I thought, because my vision versus the execution of that vision was totally different and should have been different. And just briefly, like on the personal side, I did the whole Dark Night of the Soul thing. The project that I thought was destined to be didn't work. The community part, we couldn't keep up the payments on the land. The dream that I had, my marriage, everything fell apart. And there I am with my vision in one hand and reality, you know, my family in bankruptcy, I'm divorced, I'm barely trying to keep one project alive. And yeah, at the time we had done two things. We had created a residential community and plots and worked with architects and engineers. And we also created a retreat center, which was my energy. I knew I wanted to keep bringing people together. So we found an impact investor with a very small investment to buy glamping tents. And we had a big ranch at our property. And so we had a kitchen. We started hosting retreats week after week. The place was full. The vision was starting to come to life. But here I am in the middle of my dark night of the soul with no money, no way to actually bring the project to life. And I felt like all I was doing was pitching my vision. Like I was going to Burning Man and just pitching my vision. Not that it was a bad thing. It was a good vision for humanity, but I kept pitching and raising, and it was not the way I envisioned building the new paradigm in my small piece of it. And so it was a challenge, and I would always put on one face when I was in retreat mode, and inside was really, really in a bad place. And so eventually, as the retreat center got going, the whole house of cards on the bigger vision was collapsing. I needed a break. And so my vision for life at that time was to have some peace. And I brought on a hotel operator at that time called Selena, cool hotel brand. They were into retreat centers and education. So they took over the operation of our place so that I could not have to wake up every morning and have to operate the restaurant and everything with the team. So one thing that I learned is there's my vision and there's also my place in that vision. I didn't have to be the chef of the restaurant and the guy opening the doors and everything. And the other thing was what I thought was in perfect alignment obviously wasn't, because it wasn't working. So long story short, I took a little bit of a walkabout. When I brought the hotel company on, I said, well, what do I want now in life? What's my upgraded vision? And at the time, I decided to start advising people building eco-villages and retreat centers, because I had learned so many mistakes. Architecture, master planning, construction, permaculture, everything that we had to do, I still had to go through that process. And so I was like, wow, I definitely don't want to be the leader of an eco-villager retreat. I want to support that whole movement. But my vision is to be a supporting actor, not the founder. And decided to start helping people create their vision, create their team, and create their budget so that they didn't go through the same mistakes that I did. And I called that a land accelerator. Started a small company without a brand, lived the possibility, and just started giving workshops and lectures and a newsletter, which became my way of sharing. And anyone who wants to read it, it's on my website, livethepossibility.co. It's a free newsletter, but it goes through everything happening in Costa Rica. It goes through other people's projects and their learnings in attuning their projects, their vision. So the most important part of the thing that I consult people on now who are building land projects, and I consult about 20 of them around the country in Costa Rica. So I get to see the coolest eco-villages and retreats and land projects being built, some with a lot of money, others with no funding, small visions, big visions, and everyone is 100% certain of how their project should be and will turn out. And that's the part that I shake a little bit because, yeah, unless we face uncertainty and become resilient and comfortable with uncertainty, this journey, whether you're building an eco-village or looking to live in one or live in a regenerative neighborhood, it tests you and it really requires you to keep refining your why and your vision. So when I work with people before giving them a team of architects and engineers, before building a budget, I do a deep dive with them on their vision. And we'll do a meditation. If we can be on the land that they're stewarding, we'll do it on the property. If they don't have their property, we'll call it in based on their vision and values and see what's in alignment. But yeah, basically, and you could do this exercise, it's quite easy, is if you're on your land, I take off my shoes and I close my eyes, but I really ask the land what it's calling for. What is the vision of my property that I'm looking to support and steward? It's never mine in ownership, but it's mine in stewardship, maybe among others. What is that land calling for? Because myself and a group of semi-hippie friends from Burning Man might think that property is the perfect place for our vision of a new tomorrow. Maybe it's a perfect place to keep the turtles and birds and everyone who's there now just hanging out. So before we touch any piece of earth, even with a good intention, just checking in, is that what it's calling for, first of all? Meditating on a property, saying, hey, is this the home for the thing that's in my head and in my heart? And then checking in with yourself on the alignment of your vision. I thought I had my own vision. What I had was the vision of my family and my father and all of the people that I went to Burning Man with, which is let's build a healthy planet. Let's build a new earth. Let's heal ourselves. And although part of that is in my vision, I had a hard time distinguishing what was my unique vision that I'm feeling for my purpose on this planet versus downloads that I'm getting from the ether that many of my friends are getting. A lot of times people are like, man, I had this unique vision of building a network of communities of around the world, and we're all going to exchange living places. And I said, wow, really? Just you? You're the only one in the world who had that unique vision. Or whatever it is, a series of healing centers and incubators for communities. So I think it's also becoming, for me especially, humbled to the fact that we're all getting a certain vision. We're all feeling that the planet is going a certain way and we want to contribute. And I think that's the challenge, is refining our unique vision. Where am I supposed to be helping? Where am I supposed to be of purpose? My ego really wanted to build retreat centers and communities. Now I help others do them, but at the end, I'm helping build 20 of them. I'm like, wow, that's more than I would have done alone, but I'm not the founder. And so it took me many years up until last year to refine that vision even further and further and further. So yeah, I think one of the nicest things to do is to have that peace of mind and quiet, especially if you're working on a team or with a loved one or whoever, to separate yourself from everybody and their energy and try to see what's coming, like what excites you. Not also like how can I help the planet, but what's exciting? Like what's fun? Nobody needs you to regenerate or change the planet. It starts with you and me. So if I want to change anything on this earth, I have to change as one of my mentors said, he goes, all your friends want to change the world, but none of them are willing to change their own ass first. So that was my refinement of vision last year, was start walking the walk more. Oh yeah, we could definitely open for 1 or 2 questions. I'm seeing that. Yeah, so I'll slowly start to wrap up. And, so one thing is aligning to your vision. The other thing is refining it down, and integrating your vision with the property, really making sure your vision and the land you're looking at match, and never saying yes to a property unless it's 100% match of your vision. I bullet point it out, and I bullet point out my values, clean water, cool weather. People show me these properties sometimes on the beach, and they're like, we're going to build our thriving eco village here. And they're sweating as they're talking to me. And I'm like, do you even want to live here? I don't mind. Like, this is great, but you look like you're sweating bricks. So even simple things of what kind of weather do I want to live in? And understanding, our comfort in that place. And finally, the one thing that I hear a lot of people saying is scale. I want to build a vision and scale it globally. And I challenge everyone on that, because there are some people that should scale stuff globally, and that's great. And if they're clear on that, but otherwise it becomes really tiring to scale visions. Most people have trouble enough nailing them. So when people have big visions, like we want to do this thing globally, I'm all for it, but I'm also for an MVP, like a minimum viable product that you could test and see how this thing works. And always remain in curiosity in this process. When I meet experts, it scares me. How can you be an expert in a field? And sometimes people think I am, and I just have some experience and share my mistakes, but how can you be an expert in a field that's called the new paradigm, or whatever it's called, so it's new, it's emergent. So in gatherings like this, I'm really happy because we can be curious. I can share my experience, hear from other people's experience, ask Stephen what he thinks, like, hey, how does this land with you? Because without that curiosity, we're not going to be able to invent something new. And I'll close on just one last thing, and then we'll open up to questions. But the main thing I ask myself in vision alignment is why? Why the hell do I want to do this thing? And why now? And before, it was for different reasons when I started my project. Today, every fabric of culture and society is in a tough place. Religion, government, schools, sustainability and ecology. You can actually go through a list, and I don't think there's one of them that is the fabric of society that's healthy. And so the why for me now of aligning these visions for a new future and new today, it's really to align what the hell can we do? What is my role and what is my vision given where the planet is today? My vision might have been different a couple of years ago, just climate change related. Now it's all of it. It's climate change, it's community, it's kids. So I'm always a big fan of refining vision and then erasing it and doing it again. This is what I love to help people with. A lot of free information in my newsletter and workshops. So always feel free to check out my stuff and message me. I'm pretty easy to email. So I'll pause there for any questions or comments.
Thank you so much for sharing, Ed. I could totally resonate. As a village builder, I could resonate about, exactly what you said, like going out and like sharing your vision and just staying focused on that, without acknowledging that there's changes and the land and the people, they want something else. So it takes a little bit of like mental flexibility and heart flexibility to be able. So I'll pass on to a question from Ellen. She had her first raised hand.
Hi, Ed. I just wanted to congratulate you on this. It was a great presentation. I worked in architecture for 10 years, and one of the best practices I worked for had one person that specifically was hired to sit people down and question what they thought they wanted. And that's how they saved a lot of money for massive projects in the long run. We're talking about huge hospitals and infrastructure. And number two, got a better result for the clients themselves, because we're very romantic about a lot of things. And the second thing I picked up on a little bit, and I hadn't caught this until now, and I a certain kind of like, oh, we can just land in other people's countries and set up our thing, you know, we just know what it is. And then because my idea is so amazing and I love it, we can scale it everywhere, when actually the best architecture is context-based. And I also really question people about taking their ideas anywhere else that isn't the right context for them, and to double question that. So I just wanted to reflect that back in to say, like, it's a great little space that you have found, and really, really amazing to hear about your work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and just to reflect on your point, it's a big issue talked about in Costa Rica, neocolonialism, yeah, and really integrated cooperation with local cultures versus plopping some kind of eco-village somewhere.
Because I don't know how to, you know, the word colonialism is a bit loaded and things, but I come from Ecuador, and, you know, it's like, okay, you come with your money, and then most of the countries in economical ruin in some of these countries. South America is going through a lot of issues with their economies. So I think the other thing is to be very careful how we end up colonizing some of these countries that are in sometimes the brink of collapse, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, well said.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing both, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. I really enjoy the simplicity and the humbleness you brought in this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. It has been in a long process with a community that I'm no longer joining, but what I saw there, it aligns a bit with you, is like this, the difference between fears and clear sensing. Like, for example, the words or the talk from one of the community hosts, it really resonates, but then the actions don't align with it. And then often it's like the reflection back, like, yeah, you're afraid of something, or don't, like this. I don't know if you have any words on that, you know, like it's a bit like, I feel there's something there that's not completely right to put it like that, because it's also, yeah, I'm kind of like in the process of figuring it out. Like, is it something around being like, you're just fears need to be swept under the carpet, and if you really want it, you will want it, and you know, like.
Oh, it's a great question, and it's a tough one, because in some senses, yeah, we have fears and we have to move beyond them to create the thing. On other senses, those are the alarms of our body saying, hey, like, your fear about this person is right. So one of the things that I think is most important, and I dedicate probably half my time to with an organization called Leap Forward. I'll put their link. It's a free organization, but it's called leapforward.us is their website. But it's doing the interpersonal work between each other, which I think this movement is missing a lot of, which is we could build all the eco-villages we want, but unless we do the interpersonal work, trigger each other, see that, wow, I have a fear and it's really true because Stephen is building a house and he's not a builder. Or I can say, wow, I have a fear because Stephen is building a house and my father at a young age always let me down with projects. And so I'm projecting my father onto Stephen as an example. You know? So really being able to clear the schmutz or clear the residue of our own fears and loops from childhood or wherever they happened, to actually see what is a legitimate fear, like what is a true signal versus what is a fear that I'm looping on from my whole life that maybe I'm actually applying incorrectly. Like, this is a great eco-village, but my fear of living in community is blocking me. Or like, holy crap, I've been on the road with this group and I have a fear that this is the wrong group for me. You know, they both could be valid. The cleaner our vessel, I think the easier to discern. Yeah, discernment is not easy. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you. It's something to reflect on, like what is actually my own vision and my own, how do I want this to play out when I sense into myself, other than seeing the match out there. Yeah, because I can feel some of these things really resonated and some other things not. So there's something there for me that gives clarity, and to be like, okay, what is it actually that I want with that? Yeah, thank you for that reflection, Ed.
Yeah, and by the way, I keep doing that over and over. So even something really good happened to me this week and an investor and a this and a that, and I'm like, oh, okay, like let me refine, like I'm having a little bit of fear and doubts. This might be not aligned to my vision, even though it looks like it. So it's a good indicator just to relook or respect an issue. Yeah,
Great, thank you.
cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed, for sharing your experience, and yeah, definitely for your humbleness. As you said, like we are not experts. That's why we're here together, also to learn from each other and inspire each other.
Yeah.
So hope you get to enjoy the conference. I'll
Yeah.
give everyone 3 minutes for a bio break before the next session.
Yeah, and I'll post my website for anyone who wants the newsletter. It's a great way to, yeah, just keep in touch. And I always paste other people's projects and worries and triumphs, so you could see the good, the bad, everything there. So yeah, thank you so much, Annie, and thank you all.
Leave the possibility.
Cool. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks, everyone.
See you on the other side.